For this presentation, we would be talking about the community project with Ms. Milligan's class, which is the class that I did my community project over. Her class is in Pottsville Elementary School, and we are going to go over the problems in the class. So, whenever I went to go and observe her class, there were many problems that this classroom had, like for her with teaching wise. For example, some things were that kids were having trouble concentrating while she was teaching. Some kids would, she said that they would like doze off, and then some couldn't seem to fully understand the lessons, which is probably the cause of them dozing off. They seemed to not be that much into the lessons when they would teach them. The students' age and grade in Miss Milligan's classroom. Like I said, it is a kindergarten class, and that means it's from ages 5 to 6. And like I said, the school is located in Pottsville Elementary School. So technology that I will be using in this class, I will be using Quizlet. Quizlet, what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to be using the mini activities that they have in order to teach them writing, reading, and pronouncing. I'm going to do games. There's many different websites, many different apps for games that help you with the language arts category. So there's spelling games, there's writing games, there's reading games, and like I'm going to be using games to help them be more engaged in their lessons. That way they can learn more about what's being taught, because of course many of the students like to do hands-on things, and games is more of a hands-on activity. Something else that I'd be using is a smart board. With that, I'm going to be making little lessons and activities. Things like having them go up there, dragging the letters in order to spell, or typing the letters, stuff like that. So Quizlet. For this activity, I'm going to be using a variety of things that's in Quizlet. So every student will be on their iPads, which is provided by the schools. A lot of schools already seem to have iPads for the kids because, like I said, technology is being used a lot throughout the world, and now many classrooms are provided with iPads for the children. So for this Quizlet, I would be creating one for them, which would be about their sight words. What you can do with Quizlet is you can do the spelling activity where you type, or it tells you the word and then you type it. And then there's a writing activity, and then there's a pronouncing activity where you look at it gives you a word, and then it tells you to read what it says. So you just read it and then you say it, and that helped them with pronouncing. I think this activity really helped them to learn more about their sight words. It will help them learn how to spell it, write it, and pronounce it all three in just one thing, which is really neat. So here's some examples. Gives you flashcards, and so the flashcards are gonna be having all their sight words that they'll be learning for the week. And then there's a learning tab where you get to learn your sight words. There's a writing tab where children can write the words that are said to them on this Quizlet. There's the spelling words where the children are given the words and then they spell it out loud. And then so here's this one too. Like I said, it asks you to type what you hear. So you'll have this, and it reads it to you, and then the children will type it, and then it gives you the answer at the end. So games. Games, I would say, is a really great way to get a kid engaged in what they're learning. Not only will they be having fun, but they'll be learning the lessons. For the kids, it would be able to have activities time where they will get to take turns playing the provided games that go with the lessons. So whatever lesson is being taught, for example, this is about their sight words, language arts, they would be given games that help them how to spell, games that help them how to pronounce stuff. There are many websites to find games like this. There's websites like VBS, Cool Math Games, all that. So for this part of the lesson, I would be providing them with games, of course, so it'd take less time, and they would each have time to play the games, so they could not only have fun, but learn the sight words. Here's some examples of games. There's this one where it helps you type the word that you see, and then there's this one that gives you letters, and you try to spell out a word so that way it can help them like know how to spell. And the smartboard. I would say the smartboard is probably the most important part of this lesson because it's the most fun, I would say, and it really will get them to like go up there and like the teacher will be able to see where they're at, each and every one of them. So for the smartboard, I would be using many activities. So something that I would do would be like this example. I would have the words out, and each of the kids would come down and like drag or like place the words under what goes with it. They would get to write on the board or drag the letters. They would make activities that deal with spelling and writing. So, for example, could say a word to them, which would be one of their sight words, of course. And all they would do is they would go up to the board and start spelling it out, start spelling it on the board. Or they'll have letters scattered everywhere, and they use those letters to spell out the word by just dragging them, which is something really neat. And yeah, a lot of kids like going up to the board, so I think that would be a really fun activity for them. Here's another example. So, like for example, I'd give them the word, and then they'll like get the letters and just drag it down and spell it out. Here's an activity that I found for Smartboard. Like for example, this is where they drag the words and they match them with the pictures, which is actually another neat way to help them learn their words by using pictures. You know, kids at that age love seeing pictures. It's all over their books. So using pictures and having them spell the words out would be a really great thing. And here's a rubric for what they need to have in order to be successful in this. So, for example, did I write my name and date? Something that I like to start off with, like for the writing skill, is by having them write their names. And most of them will already know how. And that would help them with their writing skills. Did I send out my words? Pronouncing their words is very important. So I would make sure that they know how to pronounce each and every word. Did I leave spaces? Spacing goes a lot with writing, and it's really important. So that'd be another thing that they need in order to pass this part. Does my picture match the story? Like I said before in the smartboard activity, using pictures are a great way to get the kids really engaged. So that would be another thing that they need to have done. So they need to follow each of the following tasks. Students need to be able to write at least their name, be able to sound out the words, make sure they leave spaces, and like I said, use pictures to help them and make sure they all match with the words that they're given. So use a curriculum alignment with standards. So for the Common Core state standards, I would say this lesson would follow the RIK10, which says actively engage in teacher-led reading activities with purpose and understanding. And RFK1, demonstrate understanding of the organization and basic features of print. They would follow words from left to right, top to bottom, and page to page. Recognize that spoken words are represented in written language by specific sequences of letters and that print carries meaning. Understand that words are separated by spaces in print. And RFK1C, which is teachers might access this understanding by asking students to demonstrate one-on-one correspondence by matching spoken words to printed words. The lesson will follow from the next standard is knowledge constructor 1C. Students use technology to seek feedback that informs and improves their practice and to demonstrate their learning in a variety of ways. So that would be the standards that they would be following with this lesson. So for assessment methods, there are many ways that you can test a child that's learning how to spell, write, and read. For example, on the Quizlet app, there's a quiz at the end, and that's really good for them because they'll be using all the activities that's provided for you, like the spelling part, the writing part, the pronouncing part, and then the game part. And then that way at the end, they'll all know what's going on and like have an idea of what they're learning. And there's a quiz for that. And they'll send you the results that way you can see where they're at. Or there's a quiz worksheet. like this one right here, where you give them the words and they spell it out on their spelling test. And then also you can give them a sentence. Like on this one, for example, this is where you practice capitalizing or like spelling the word the right way, adding periods. On here, they had to capitalize the T. This word was not spelled correctly, and they got that. And then like using pictures. So this one provides you with the sentence, and the kid would just have to draw a picture in order to see if they understand it. And then the last method of testing them would be pronouncing sight words. So this would be like an oral test. So like something I would do for that would be having each and every child be called out of the classroom and like testing them on pronouncing them. I would show them the words and they would pronounce it. And they'll have to pronounce every word correctly in order to pass this part of the test. The outcome of this, I would say, would be the students will know how to write words, at least more than half of them. They'll, of course, know their name, how to write their name, and how to write their sight words. Students will be able to pronounce their words. Students will be able to read words, which is really good.